This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we'll be replacing a garbage disposal unit that is leaking, and pretty easy job. This is about at intermediate level. You only need a couple of tools to do it. And here we see a little bit of leak coming out of that black hose, and usually this is just something that's part of old age. Pretty easy to take care of though. So what we're going to do first is we'll unplug it, and we're going to remove this hose, which brings water the dishwasher in, and we're going to be knocking this to the left. This is going to let loose the old clamp that was holding it on. It's pretty corroded, so this one's probably been here for a long time. So now we can lower down the old unit. Now I'm holding on as I turn lefty-loosey to get this ring off. And this part though is held on by a rubber gasket, so I'm just going to grab that gasket and peel it off of the bottom. Once I peel that off, it's going to let this metal ring above it come out, and I can do a little bit more of the disassembly. If you have an exact disposal unit that's exactly the same as the one that you're replacing, you don't have to do this part. You don't have to replace this, but this one looks like it was leaking from the sink, so we're going to go ahead and replace it. What I'll do now is I'll grab the plastic ring below it, and I'll turn lefty-loosey to spin off the threads. So I'm turning this one. Gotta spin it for about maybe an inch worth of threads to get it off. Then I can get the old one out and kind of clean up the area. If you're putting this new unit onto a stainless steel sink like this one, you don't need plumber's putty. But if you're putting it on any other type of sink, you want to buy a little bit of plumber's putty, which is kind of like Play-Doh, and it's used to create a better seal. This one though comes with a little rubber gasket that works great if, again, you're just putting it on a pretty common stainless steel sink. So there's the old part that came off. Here's the old rubber gasket. I'm going to go ahead and lift out the old part here. And then we're just going to clean up the portion of the sink that used to touch. Just use an old rag to clean that up. Be careful, these are sharp edges. You don't want to cut your finger. You could use a wire brush too, would work great. This is an XO brand, kind of expensive but pretty good. Got it from Amazon. Here's the fitting. Has that rubber gasket, has the metal piece, and then it has the threaded plastic nut. We're going to spin that off. And then you'll see there is two gaskets. There's a rubber gasket and kind of a cardboard gasket. So you want to remove the cardboard gasket, but keep the rubber one up there on the top lip. It's kind of a thin rubber gasket. That's going to come in contact with the stainless steel sink. So we'll push this into position. We'll kind of get the logo where we want it, one pointing up toward the top, one pointing toward the bottom. I'm also getting the rubber piece that fits in the middle. I'm going to push it all the way down and into position. There we go. All right, so it's all set. We're going to go ahead and put that down, get a nice tight seal, and then I'll come in from underneath and I'll put on that cardboard gasket, and then I'll put that plastic ring and I'll turn it righty-tighty, as tight as it can go. I'm now turning it with two hands to get it really tight. That's going to create a nice watertight seal. Okay, now we'll take that metal ring and we're going to put that up on there, and we're going to use the rubber gasket to push in on the plastic rim. And it's going to just push in there by friction. It has a little ridge on it that'll hold it up there. That's also going to hold that metal ring in position. It's going to create a nice watertight seal between this flange and the garbage disposal unit. There we go. Okay, now I'm taking this part off of the old pipe connection off of the old disposer. I'm going to put this on the new piece that comes with the new disposal unit. And now I can feed these, put the little gasket in position. I can feed it down onto the sink drain. Just going to do this really slowly, carefully. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on the plumbing. And then I'm going to turn the unit into position so that the top of the disposal unit fits against that rubber gasket. And then the metal ring can come down on top. And I'll get it in position, and then I'll turn it to my left to lock it on. There we go. It's still not quite on there, so I'm going to keep playing with it. Just take your time, wiggle it around, push it all the way down on top. And then I'm sorry, I'm going to turn it to my right. It's the old righty-tighty idea. So it's on there pretty tight. I'll go ahead and finish these connections. I'm going to tighten up this one. Going toward my right. To get that nice and tight. Put the dishwasher drainage hose coming from the air gap up near the sink faucet. I'll put that on there. I'm going to just wiggle it in, get it as far in as it'll go, and I can put the hose clamp on there and tighten it. So everything's pretty loose so far. I haven't tightened any connections. I'm just getting them in position first. Here's another view. This is putting on that little plastic nut and then the washer. So I'm kind of laying down on this cabinet area underneath the sink, and I'm holding up the the disposal unit with one hand, and then I'm going to go ahead and use the other hand to help me get the plumbing in position. And I can turn this in underneath that rubber gasket, and then I'll get the metal ring to come down onto the disposal unit, and then I'm going to again turn to my right, righty-tighty, to lock it in. All right, and then I'm just doing those other connections. I'm going to tighten up the nut that's bringing the water down from the disposal unit down into the sink drain. Get that nice and tight. Put the discharge hose from the dishwasher on there, wiggle it on. Then we'll get the hose clamp on there, tighten it. So I'm now using a screwdriver, and I'm turning that big metal ring as far as it'll go to the right. It gets to a certain point and just pegs out. So that's as tight as that can go. That gives me a nice watertight connection. Get that on tight. I'm just tightening up now the metal screws that are holding the discharge hose from the disposal unit that goes into the sink plumbing. Get those both really tight. So everything's going to be loose initially while you get everything in position, and then once it's in position, then everything gets tight. So reasons you might be putting on a new unit, usually it's a leak that's caused by rust, the bottom of the unit. Sometimes they're so jammed up that you can't unjam them, and then you might want to put on a new unit. But a lot of times you can press the reset button, get them going, or you can just use a wrench to break up whatever's jamming it and get them going. So they last a long time. But when you get the leak coming out the bottom due to rust, then you really have to replace it.
If this video is helping you, please consider pressing down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen the subscribe button, and that really helps our channel.
All right, so this is just showing another angle of getting that ring tight and putting a screwdriver in there to give me more leverage. I'm going to turn it until it can't go any further, and that gives it a nice tight seal against that rubber gasket. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in, and we want to do a leak test. So a leak test is pretty easy. Just going to turn on the water and then go underneath the check, make sure you don't see any leaks coming down. And if you don't see anything, you can increase the volume of the water. Go ahead and try out the motor. Make sure the electrical connection's good. That sounds really good, and also still no leaks. That looks great. So next I'm going to use the dishwasher drain. When I activated the dishwasher drain, I noticed some water was shooting out of the air gap and not draining down through the disposal unit. So this, in this case, was due to a blockage in the big black hose that goes between the air gap here, the white air gap, and the disposal unit. But sometimes it can be caused by a plug that is part of the garbage disposal unit. You have to make sure before you install it that you take a screwdriver and you push it into the discharge hose that the dishwasher drain tube hooks up to, and you hit it with your hand or a hammer, and it knocks that plug out, and then water can flow through the big black hose into the disposal unit. If you don't knock that plug out, you'll definitely get water backing up through the air gap. Your dishwasher will not drain. So in this case, that's not why it's not draining and backing up. It's backing up because there's a bunch of junk caught in this big black tube. We're going to go over next how you can easily clean all that out so that you don't get that water backing up at the air gap. One way you could do it is if you have a straightened wire coat hanger, you can push that down into the air gap area. I'll be showing you how to use a special tool. This is actually a CPAP cleaning tool. So I lift off this cover, and you can see a little water dripping out there from where it backed up. Then I'll take a standard head screwdriver. I'm going to use it to break the connection. I was just testing the seals to make sure nothing's leaking. So it wasn't that was leaking, it was the air gap backing up. So I'm going to use a standard head screwdriver to pry off the top, and then I'll put my cleaning tool down, not in the little tube, but the outer tube that surrounds that little tube. I'll go down as far as I can until I meet some resistance, and this is kind of like a little snake. You can get these CPAP cleaning tools from Amazon for about 10 bucks. And then I'm going to just go back and forth and push and back and forth to get as much junk out as I can. And I notice there's a lot of like fat and dirt in there. I'll clean that off with some water. I'll repeat that a few times until this CPAP cleaning tool ends up going all the way through the black tube into the disposal unit. You'll actually be able to see it then you know you have a nice clear tube that the water from the dishwasher can flow through. So just be patient, may take a few tries. Again, if you don't have this tool, but you have a straightened coat hanger, you probably would work almost as well. And you can also take the black tube off of the disposal unit and clean it out from that side too. But make sure you do pop out that plastic plug before you install the disposal unit. So I think I got most of that obstruction out. Yeah, I can see it now. I can see the little tool moving down inside there, so I know it went all the way into the disposal unit. So I know I have a nice clear tube, and I can go ahead now and pull that out. We also noticed that it wasn't draining really well, so if you have a sink that isn't draining well, you can fill it with some water and then take a toilet plunger, and you can then push in on the sink drain with your plunger, maybe about 10 times, and that'll push the water and knock anything that's in the little trap that's part of the sink's drain. It'll knock that debris out, and it'll flow out, and then you'll have a good drain. So it's a quick way to fix a sink drain that isn't draining fast enough, or even in a bathroom drain. You can use your toilet plunger, and it just pushes a lot of air and a lot of water through with some pressure through the tube and knocks any kind of debris down into the sewer line. So a pretty quick way to deal with a sink drain that is too slow. I filled this now with a lot of water, and I'm just watching the drain go, and I get a nice whirlpool effect, so that looks really good. And I'm not getting any kind of leak anymore. So we got all our fittings on nice and tight, and we are done.
Thanks so much for watching our video, and please subscribe to our channel when you get a chance, and also click the little bell notification button so we can send you weekly videos on all the different ways of fixing appliances around your home and saving you lots of money. So thanks again for watching, and please also press the like button for our video if this was helpful to you. Feel free to contact me at the email listed below, which is scottthefixitguy@yahoo.com, with any of your questions. And also, if you need to have a FaceTime meeting with me or a Zoom meeting, you can click on one of the links below in the description, and we can set up a 15-minute or 30-minute video conference where we can work on your appliance problem. So thanks again for all your support and for watching the video.